Hello YouTube, it is Cuber once again, and I have a tutorial for you today. I've had quite a few people, since I published that effect a few weeks ago, where I use k-means clustering to change the color of the videos. I have gotten some requests to do a tutorial for that, and I finally have a good chunk of time to sit down and go through this. So I am going to be showing you how to do that effect. And I think I'm going to be calling it the Mosaic cluster effect, because when it's applied right, it kind of looks like stained glass, like a mosaic. So, this is an effect that only requires Kdenlive. It does not require Audacity. The audio effects are actually all performed in Kdenlive. So, I'm going to be showing you the Linux way of doing things. However, I do believe that Kdenlive is available for Windows as well. So we're going to open up Kdenlive. And this effect is best applied to a video that has a variety of colors and a variety of gradients. Like, it would be best applied to something that has like a rainbow in it, or has like a sky background that kind of transitions from blue to red or from blue to white. It wouldn't work that well for an image that's very flat, which has a lot of contrast. So I'm going to try to find a video that has a variety of colors. And I'm going to go to the Do That Logo archive that I love so much. Let's see here. You know, the CBS DVD logo, I liked this logo a lot when I did my revival season, and I think that's what I'm going to be using today because it has like the earth and the background is a gradient. I'm going to stick with this. We're not going to change the profile. So I would actually say that the video effect, which is primarily what I'm concerned with, is even easier than the audio effect. So let's go to a good shot where we can see a lot of stuff going on. Okay, there's the earth. I'm just going to use this as the shot, the example shot of the day. So for the video effect, we're going to drag on k-means clustering. And you can drag this onto the track or onto the video event. It doesn't matter. I'm dragging on the video event. And you can already see that before I even change the settings that we've already got some pretty crazy effects going on. However, the numbers are not quite what we want. So I've saved a preset under the name Mosaic Cluster. We change the amount of clusters to 40. And the weight on distance to 950. So the amount of clusters basically increases the number of categories you have. It increases the number of possible colors. If you decrease this, then you end up getting less variety in the colors. So I'm going to keep that at 40. The weight on distance I frankly think is a little bit harder for me to understand. All I know is that when you decrease it, you preserve most of the shapes of the original video, whereas when you increase it, you end up creating these shapes that are very kind of angular and look more like what I was talking about before, stained glass, with 1000 being the maximum. So setting it to something like 950 just barely preserves some information about the original video, while for the most part having these weird shapes. So I think if I go to the end, yeah, you can see the CBS DVD logo here. You can clearly see the shapes of the text, but there's a lot of contrast with this logo against the background. I'll actually disable this effect for a minute to show you. Yeah, this logo stands out strongly against the background. So when I turn back on the effect, those parts of the video that stood out so strongly don't get affected much by this effect, but the areas that had less contrast, like the background, get affected very strongly. Oh, sorry, hiccup. So the video effect is really what's so central to this. The audio effect is just kind of a generic, like, weird sounding audio that I thought went well with this. I did save that, and this is also something you could drag onto the video event or the track, it doesn't matter. So the audio effects that are involved here are Sox Flanger and a crusher, which is like a bit crusher. So unlike the video event effect, where there's a lot of thought behind the particular settings that I used, these audio effects are mainly just things that I played around with to try to get them to sound kind of weird and wacky. So I'll quickly go through the numbers. The first effect is the Sox Flanger. The delay is 0 milliseconds, the depth is 2 milliseconds, regeneration 0%, I frankly don't know what that does. The width is 71% and the speed is 5 Hz. The shape is sine, the phase is 25%, and interpolation is quadratic. Some of these I could probably translate into non-editing language, but for the most part, I just kind of screwed with some values and got what I got. The bit crusher is called a crusher, and that's second. So I'm going to go through all the numbers here. AV level in is 1, AV level out is 1, AV bits is 2. This is the part that's really important. The bit reduction is what makes the sound very scratchy and distorted. If you were to raise it, it would sound more like the original, and I want it to sound kind of, bad. AV mix is 0. I think that just means we're not mixing in any of the original audio. It's all the bit crusher. AVDC is 1. Anti-aliasing, AVAA, is 1. This means that we're just applying something that reduces the scratchiness. So it's still going to sound distorted, but it's going to sound a little bit less harsh. AV samples is 5. Not totally sure what that does. AVL 4-inch. This one is 20, and AVL4 rate is 0.3. So I don't know what all of these does. I think they're the defaults anyway. The ones that I remember changing are AV bits and AVAA, and also AV mix. So, honestly, that's it. When it comes to this effect, the only other thing I always suggest people do, if they are not working with a 16:9 video, is I always suggest that before you apply the video effect, that you fit your video to width, and then you just center it. And this is more prevalent for old logos. Old logos tend to be in a 4:3 ratio, whereas the videos we post on YouTube tend to be in a 16:9 ratio. So if you have a video that's not perfectly widescreen, just apply transform before you apply k-means clustering. So I should actually do it this way. You apply transform first, you fit to width, and then you center horizontally and center vertically. And you can also adjust the location of the video so that it captures the important details. But centering it vertically and horizontally is usually a good starting point. This case I didn't really have to worry about that because CVS DVD logo is pretty close to widescreen. It barely changed when I applied that cropping. But the point of that whole tangent is if you choose to apply a transformation, if you choose to move the video around, you should apply transform before you apply k-means clustering. That's it. At this point, I would just add a corner logo and render the effect. It's a pretty straightforward effect. easy to apply, and I do encourage people to save the presets for the video effect and for the audio effect stack so that it's easy to apply in the future. So thank you everybody for watching, and have a good day.